So there have been a couple of stories over the past couple of weeks, obviously with respect to flying. We all know what's going on with, airlines cutting routes now. Air Transat's big announcement last week. But one thing I didn't see coming until I read about this was this. If you're planning or, in the process of booking your vacation soon, you better be wary of something. Quebec's Consumer Protection Office is warning travelers to watch out for websites selling plane tickets at prices that seem, guess what, too good to be true. And obviously, this is happening just as the cost of air travel is getting increasingly expensive. So I thought we'd try to find out what's going on. Sara Eve Levac is a lawyer and analyst at Option Consommateurs, the consumer protection group here in Quebec. And Sarah, first of all, with respect to this scam, if I can call it that, how does this work exactly? Do you know?
Yeah, so it happens when you book online. Some consumers have called us for similar situations. So you book your trip online, and then before you leave, they tell you that your plane ticket does not work anymore. It can't be honored, and they try to charge you extra to keep a place on the flight, or they offer you alternative travel, but usually it's going to be way more expensive than what you already paid for originally.
So you're booking here through a third party. You're not booking, obviously, directly with the airline.
Yes, it's third-party websites that offer trips. Sometimes it's everything is included, but in those cases, they will say that the plane ticket is not secured anymore, and you need to pay extra to be sure to get on the flight.
Right. Have you already paid anything up until that point?
Usually people will use their credit cards, so it's possible that there's a transaction already done on their credit cards, but you can have recourses in Quebec through the chargeback provided for in the law.
So I know that's the case in Quebec, but obviously the point is you went to book something, now you're finding out it's not booked, maybe it's last minute. What do you do then? I mean, can you just go through the airline and let them know and try to book it directly?
Well, it depends. The airline could say that they were never informed that you book a plane ticket if the intermediary platform did not actually book your trip. So it can be difficult. What you do is you try to negotiate with the platform to be reimbursed, so you could use the possibility to ask for a chargeback directly with your credit card issuer. That could be an option if ever they say they cannot honor the trip you paid for.
So I should just want to clarify, this is just about the air. If you're booking, say, an all-inclusive, right, so that includes a hotel and everything else, what happens then? Or is this just air?
The price change is usually with regard to the plane ticket when these intermediaries say that the travel cannot be is not working anymore. Right. Usually it's about the plane ticket, yeah.
Okay, and just for people listening and saying, oh my goodness, I know this happened to someone I know, what's the first thing you should be doing if you're, first of all, if you're buying a fare that's hundreds of dollars less than it would be if you went to the airline site, you should realize something's up to begin with, right?
Yeah, if the plane ticket or the price of the trip is too good to be true, that's a reason to try to get more information about the intermediary. The best protection we have here in Quebec is if you go through a travel agency that has a permit with the Office de la Protection du Consommateur.
So they would be covered, and then if a refund was going to happen, you have a better chance of getting it through them.
Well, if they have a permit, you have some protections provided for already with an indemnization fund. But if you booked through an intermediary that says that they cannot offer you the trip in the end, then again, you try to negotiate, you try to get a charge back from your credit card. Yeah.
Just as a final question, how much of this have you actually seen?
It happens once in a while. We get some questions sometimes. We haven't seen an increase in the last couple of weeks when the fares have gone up, but it's something we have been contacted for by consumers. Okay.
Sarah, stay there. Natalie Preddie is a travel journalist and author and has been listening in on this. Natalie, thank you for being here. I asked Sara Eve how many cases they've seen. What have you seen? What have you heard back from people who have been scammed the same way? Have you?
I actually haven't heard a lot about that. I think what I've seen more of is people just not traveling at all anymore. And, in Ontario, we have TICO, which is similar to the funds that Sarah was mentioning. So it's a travel, you know what? I'm not even going to pretend I know what TICO stands for.
Okay.
But it is a body that would protect you as a traveler if you book with a travel agent.
Let me ask the other big question now. I mentioned right off the top, Air Transat canceling, I think it was 600 flights. We're seeing airlines cut back because of the rising cost of jet fuel. What are you seeing from people who are either in the process of booking or have already booked and are now worried about will they ever be able to leave?
Oh my goodness. So I'm hearing a lot of people who are nervous about this, and it makes sense, because we don't know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, it is a very reflective market of what's going on in the war in Iran. So we unfortunately have no idea. And even once, if there is a peace agreement, which would be ideal, or an extended ceasefire, even then, it's going to take a while before prices start leveling out. So I think we are in for a summer of higher prices if you haven't already booked your tickets.
So is that the case again? If you haven't booked, obviously the earlier you book, the better. Even if there is, as you said, a peace deal, it's not going to filter through the system all that quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say when it comes to international travel, you want to book 3 to 6 months out. Sorry, 2 to 6 months out for your ticket. When it comes to domestic travel, 2 to 5 weeks is usually good. But if you still haven't booked anything, I would say you really need to be flexible on where you're going. Maybe you planned on going to Island A, and maybe you switch it up and say, okay, it's cheaper to go to Barbados, for instance, than where you were thinking of going. Wherever else you were thinking of going. So I think right now it's going to be based on, if you haven't booked anything, it's going to be based on flexibility, what is available, where are the good prices, what's close to home, and just keeping an eye on prices. I would say definitely set a price alert on sites like Skyscanner or Kayak or Hopper. If you know that you want to travel to a certain destination around a certain time, you can set a price alert, and they will let you know how prices are moving and can often provide advice on whether it's a good time to buy now or to hold out.
So just as a final question, let's say you've already booked something and you're hearing the news every day about flights being, canceled or cut or whatever. Is there a possibility, even with a confirmed reservation, that you may not get that flight, that they may decide to get you out of that flight? And if so, what's your recourse?
My goodness. Well, I hope that won't be the case. Again, if you've booked with a travel agent, there are lots of protections built into your price. Other than that, the airline itself does have a responsibility to you to either get you your money back or help you rebook. If you work with a travel agent, so I always say working with a travel agent is such a good idea because they'll be able to help you rebook and figure out your next move. And I think, unfortunately, we are in quite a reactive environment at the moment.
Yeah, I asked that question because outside of one airline, I mentioned Transat cutting flights, if this happens everywhere, and we're starting to hear that it's happening with European carriers as well, and you have a flight canceled, it's not going to be that easy to rebook you somewhere else if no one else is flying.
Well, exactly. And I think, we've seen Air Canada canceled a bunch as well. And we've seen, I think EasyJet was looking at canceling a bunch of flights. So I think coming into this with flexibility, maybe you take a train from London to Edinburgh if that was part of your journey. I think it's all going to be all about adapting and changing our plans. And, maybe we stay domestic this year. Maybe Canadians stay in Canada. We've got such an amazing country. Maybe we make sure that our country gets our tourist dollars that we are spending to promote ourselves.
To your point, are you starting to see that?
Oh, absolutely. People aren't going to the States anymore. As you know, we have, I think, only 1 or 2 airlines that are even still flying down to the States. And people are looking to Canada for new Indigenous tourism experiences, local tourism experiences, cooking classes in new places that they haven't been. And I think, we're seeing the Canada Strong Pass as well for its 2nd year in a row, which helps families travel across the country with discounts on via and parks and attractions. So I think, the country is promoting that, of course, and a lot of people are taking are using it because it's such a fantastic way to explore our country. We will leave it at that. Natalie, thank you. Sara Eve, thank you both very, very much. Appreciate the time. It was a pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them. And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast. I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.